So what happened with the Charlotte Housing Authority, this scam? Does that surprise you at all?
So we can't talk about specific investigations or pending investigations, but the scam itself, it is a scam that's out there. It's not surprising. It's actually a scam that the IRS has posted out there, trying to warn taxpayers, businesses that's out there. So no, it's not surprising to see these things come up, particularly during filing season.
I mean, when I heard about it, I was very surprised to hear about this. I would think I was more surprised to know that the IRS actually has a name for this scam and a warning on its website. It's that common?
Absolutely. So again, this is a scam that has morphed over time, and we call it basically a W-2 phishing scheme or business email compromise scheme. And again, it's these cyber criminals. They are looking for new ways to exploit businesses, to gather information and essentially make a profit.
Do you think it speaks to the need of more cybersecurity training across the board?
Absolutely. Cybersecurity training, that's one of the first things that we can do to be proactive in making sure we don't fall for some of these things and really just try to tighten up the easy access points for these cyber criminals.
How common is this scam in Charlotte and in North Carolina right now?
So as I mentioned, IRS has issued some warnings nationwide. This is a scheme that we see across the country. There really is no city, no place that is immune from this. Cyber criminals, they're equal opportunity in seeking out businesses and opportunities to take advantage of people for profit. So Charlotte itself, large hub, financial hub, a lot of businesses. Again, it'll be a prime area for these cyber criminals to target. Do
you have any numbers on statewide, how many businesses are reporting that this is happening to them?
So I don't have any numbers specifically in Charlotte, but IRS did release some numbers. Last year, they had 900 victims or non-victims, which means attempted hacks that were reported to IRS. That's up from 100 the year before.
So from 100 to 900?
Yes.
That's statewide or nationwide?
No, that's going to be nationwide. Now, each one of those hacks is hundreds, or it could be up to hundreds of thousands of employees total.
Are these hackers targeting individual businesses, or are they going after multiple businesses hoping that somebody bites?
Typically what we see is these are organizations, and a lot of these are initiated from overseas. They will send these out and basically try to exploit any weaknesses they can with any businesses. They're not typically individual businesses they're going after. They're trying to see where they can get. This affects large corporations, small businesses, government entities, nonprofit organizations, hospitals, you name it. Nobody is exempt from this.
They've probably got to do a little bit of research on this to find out who the CEO is, craft an email that looks authentic. Seems like it would take a little bit of work on their part.
Absolutely. They do their homework, and they will gather the information to find out who the CEOs or the executives or those employees are in authority within the company. And yes, they'll craft the emails. They'll either spoof or they will, in some cases, they can hack in and use the email systems themselves.
Do these emails look pretty authentic?
Well, that's where people need to be aware. A lot of times they can look authentic, but a lot of times there's going to be some red flags, some indicators. It may not quite look like it's coming from the CEO of your company. And people need to be aware. If something doesn't look right, ask a question. People should always verify.
What are some of those red flags? Can you talk about that?
So some of the red flags is there could be some misspellings. I mean, little things along those lines. There could be situations where they're asking you to send it outside. It could be a last-minute email, a request that comes in at the end of the day on a Friday. Just things that are out of the ordinary that people should look out for.
Best advice if someone gets one of these emails would be to what?
So, well, first of all, don't respond to the email. If somebody does get an email requesting that information and you think it may be legitimate, verify. Pick up the phone, call, face-to-face, verify that it's important. Never respond to the email. Never reply to the email. And I think most importantly, just if something doesn't look right, they need to question it.
Would it be best practice to send out employee W-2s through email in the first place?
I do not think that is the best practice. The other thing companies can do is they can limit the access that employees have to W-2s, to employees' personal personally identifiable information. It really is they are indiscriminate with who they go after. It could be a small business here in Charlotte, or it could be a larger business in Raleigh. It could be across the country. They really are indiscriminate. It's where they can get in, where they can get that information.
Is this a new scam? When did this start happening?
So the scam has been around for a while. They adjust it over time. As we work with our partners in private industry and we try to strengthen safeguards and we try to get awareness out there, we make it harder for them. So they're constantly looking for ways to get around that and get ahead of us. This scam has been around for a long time, historically, where they would try to get wire transfers and companies to make wire transfers to their bank accounts. What they found is that was being stopped, or they weren't as effective with that. So again, personally identifiable information. The sales on the black market it's very profitable, and that's typically where they'll go with this.
Why do you think this is happening now?
Specifically with the business email compromise, we're going to see an uptick just because of filing season right now. You've got a lot of people that their mind is already in that. You've got employees within businesses that are preparing W-2s, that are responding to those types of emails. And so it's not completely out of character for them to get an email like that. And so this is just kind of a target-rich environment for these cyber criminals to work within this tax filing season.
It does seem like we start hearing about more of these type of tax scams popping up around this time of the year. So good advice for people to pay attention to it and keep an eye out for this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Pay attention to this. Again, this is one of many scams. People are also, we've got the IRS phone scam, people calling. One of the more recent scams that's come out is now we've got cyber criminals who are filing tax returns, false tax returns, having it deposited to your bank account, calling you up and saying, well, it was erroneous. Can you please take the money out and send it to me?
And they're actually getting money into their account?
They're actually getting money into their account.
Well, that's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one before.
So again, the most important thing is to be aware. People just need to understand the IRS is never going to call and demand money. The IRS is never going to call and make threats. If it is the IRS, they're going to do most of their correspondence through mail, and you will know prior to being contacted in most cases.
How likely is it that these individuals will be arrested? Because presumably they're giving the IRS a bank account information, an address to send a check to.
Sure.
Can you guys go out, find these people, and arrest them?
So as I mentioned, a lot of this is coordinated efforts. And what I mean coordinated efforts, they're organizations that are essentially coordinating the cyber intrusions, gathering the information, either selling the information or having other individuals file the returns, get the money, and kind of move it that way. So they are very sophisticated, and they are very organized in doing this. Typically, we don't see one-offs. We don't see individuals doing this type of activity. That being said, IRS criminal investigation, it is a priority for us. Identity theft, cyber crimes, anything that affects the tax system. And we work very closely with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to investigate and to evaluate each potential case that comes in. We have had successes. We'll continue to identify these people and go after the most egregious cases that we can. Again, we can't investigate everyone, so awareness is very important for the viewers as well.
Is it a situation where you would need multiple complaints maybe about a single address, or multiple complaints about a single bank account that would make it easier for you guys to track these people down that way if you get a volume of
that helps, but we don't necessarily need that. A lot of times we can kind of go behind the scenes and see if there's other characteristics that link it to a much larger scheme, or give us some indicators of who we're dealing with, or where the intrusion's coming from.
Yeah. Does it frustrate you when you hear about these kind of stories?
Absolutely. Again, these cyber criminals, their whole job is to take advantage of people for a profit. And so anytime you've got somebody that's trying to take advantage of folks, that's something that we need to get out there and try to get ahead of and do our part to stop.
If someone's a victim, what should they do?
So if somebody's a victim, if you feel that you've been a victim, first of all, act immediately. Contact the IRS. If you go to irs.gov, there'll be instructions on providing your information. so that we can get in contact with you and really try to assess how much damage is out there and try to protect your employees, protect the taxpayers. Also, make sure that they notify the state taxing authorities and law enforcement.
How does the IRS flag these fraudulent returns? In the CHA case, they were able to flag the one victim we talked to right away. How does the IRS identify that this return is fraudulent?
So again, I can't
Generally
get into I can't speak about specific situations, but in general, if IRS is notified that accounts have been compromised or taxpayer information has been compromised, we can put some indicators out there to just pay a little closer attention to see if there's anything unusual that comes through. So maybe a tax return that comes through that doesn't look like a historical tax return, those types of things.
In these fraudulent filings, do they typically try to inflate the return that they would get normally?
So it depends. There's a lot of scams out there. What we see with these business email compromise schemes, when they're going in and getting the W-2s, it makes it that much harder for us to identify because they're using a real person, real address, real social security number, and your actual wages and withholding from where you worked. So it does look legitimate on the front end. So that's another reason they go this route.
So how do you guys, if it looks so legitimate, how do you determine this is fraudulent? Is it when someone calls the IRS and says, hey, I was told I had already filed my taxes and I haven't, and then you're notified that way?
That's usually one of the first ways that we're notified, and really notified that there's a scheme out there before we can start looking to see if there's any other flags.
And then for someone who's in that situation, what's the mechanisms then? I mean, are they kind of stuck for life in that they've always got to be on guard? I mean, what happens to these people?
So with somebody where their identity's been compromised and a false tax return has been filed in their name, there's correspondence, there's identity theft procedures that they can follow with IRS just to notify the service that their information has been compromised, that a fraudulent return has been filed in their names, and there's processes for us to go ahead and get this straightened out. And yes, for us to kind of, again, scrutinize a little bit closer in the future just to make sure that there aren't other false returns coming in.
And then sometimes they'll be given a PIN number too. That could be an extra layer of protection for them.
Absolutely,
right?
That's part of the process as well.
Yeah. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to say or want folks to know, especially this time of year?
I think the most important things is for people to be aware. You've got to be vigilant. If there's something that doesn't seem right, if something that seems out of character, just go ahead and question it a little bit. Take that extra step to verify. And I think prevention is really the best thing in this case.